Rose Namajunas defeats Tracy Cortez by unanimous decision. Here's a few of my thoughts post-fight. First, I don't think any of us were surprised by the outcome, although some of us did think that Rose might get the KO via her striking, or her great ground submissions, especially her much beloved rear naked choke. That didn't happen, but Rose was able to take down Tracy Cortez multiple times, and surely that must have been a little bit disheartening for Cortez, who kind of prides herself in having that strong wrestling background. Now, that said, post-fight, Cortez admitted to the interviewer that she, in her view, took too long to, as they say, turn it on. She said herself that she waited too long. Okay, so that shows me right there that that's a mental thing that could have been addressed with her coaches much prior to her stepping in the ring. Because holding back is a huge pitfall. So in other words, if she's actually concerned, like, oh my gosh, do I have enough gas to make it through rounds 4 and 5? I mean, that should have been addressed in her camp. Now, granted, she took this fight versus Namajunas on 2 weeks' notice, but she was in camp preparing for another fight. So this raises an overall question for all MMA fighters, which is, surely there's only 2 options for an MMA fight. It's either going to be 3 rounds or it's going to be 5. So which would you rather do? Would you rather, as we say, have it and not need it, meaning have 5 rounds in your tank and not need the last 2? Or would you rather need 5 at the last moment and only have 3 in your reserve? We can't ask the same thing of boxers because there's many more gradations in the length of a fight for a pro boxer. For round 6, 8, 10, 12 times 3 minutes. But for an MMA fighter, I mean, I would ask people to consider, develop your engine so that you got that 5 times 5 minute rounds, which is 29 minutes beginning bell to the last bell. Make sure you got an engine that can run that long. You need to address that with your coaches, of course, on how you're going to do it. But the 3 times 5 minute round that's 17 minutes duration. So you've got to address whether you can up that another 12 minutes and just have those 2 rounds in reserve, as we say. Now, here's the other aspect of that, and I'm not in Tracy Cortez's head, so I don't know exactly where she's at, but sometimes that hesitance is like a little bit of fear of getting countered. So is that why she was holding back? Because if that's the case, unfortunately for her, when she's stepping in there against somebody who's, we all know that Rose is on another level, a level higher than Tracy, but when you step up against higher level competition, you got to take the fight to them. Come hell or high water, as we say, you have to, because if you wait, they're just going to take advantage of you because they've got a higher skill level and they're more experienced. So you got to take the fight to them. And, what do they say? Whatever be damned. You're going to take some shots. You're going to, quote unquote, make mistakes. But the whole point is in that with you pressing the action, hopefully your corner can see what adjustments you need to make in order to be successful the next round. So there can be no fear of, what if I screw up? What if she counters me? All of that, you have to just throw that to the side. Now, that said, the fact that this fight did go the distance, that maybe is actually a good thing for Rose, because now she's got more minutes at that 125-pound weight division, which she did actually say, hey, I think she's still sort of adjusting to her new 125-pound body, fighting other females who are probably cutting down, maybe from as high as 145 to 125. So, in retrospect, I think that probably serves Rose well to have gone the distance with an opponent such as a Tracy Cortez, who is a live dog but is not enough of a threat to, be worried about getting knocked out. Now, I think it was pretty apparent what Cortez could work on in terms of her striking game. She certainly does not move her head quite enough. And again, that's just getting the reps in. Now, I can completely understand why she is so rigid with her head and her chin kind of where it's at, because for a wrestler or a judoka, we always want to keep our torso upright. We always want to keep our chin kind of jutted forward, because we do not want our opponent to get control of our head by grabbing behind the neck. In judo, of course, they can grab the lapel of your gi, and when your opponent does that, their objective is to control your head by shoving your head off the center line, because as we say, wherever your head goes, your body's going to follow. So for wrestlers and judokas, we use the head as leverage to move your body to upend you and get you on the ground. So it's Tracy's natural instinct to resist that completely and try to be as rigid as possible. So the only way for her to break out of that habit is to get the reps in. My advice is don't wait to just do mitts with your trainer or have them throw their punches at you and throw those little what are those little sticks that people use in the swimming pool. Some trainers like to use that. Don't just wait for your trainer to do mitts or sticks with you to move your head. You should be moving your head for rounds every single practice, and the easiest way to do that is to get yourself a slip bag, which costs less than $20. You don't even have to buy something really if you don't want to. You can just take an object, put it at the end of a rope, and sling that rope up. Have that object at about your head height when your knees are a little bit bent, and it's just a simple pendulum, you know. It may not look like it transfers over to actual fighting, but it does, simply because you've trained your body to move your head, whether it's to weave under back and forth or to slip. By being able to get so many reps in, it'll come automatically to you when you go to sparring, for example. Second thing I saw from Tracy was that she was throwing her jab like 1.5 feet away from her target area, which is another bad habit. You don't want to do that, because now every time you have your hand extended, you're open for a punch because your hand's not protecting that side of your head. So if you're not gonna at least try to make contact with the target, don't do that. I mean, that's not a feint. It's just a bad habit, really. In order to have an effective feint with any punch, you actually need to be able to land the punch to create a sense of urgency from your opponent, so the next time you make a little motion, they don't know if you're actually going to connect or you're just feinting for a half a second and then you're going to actually throw another real punch. But to Tracy's credit, we have to give her credit that she stepped up to the plate on rather short notice against a very formidable foe, and no doubt that was those 5 rounds she went with Rose should definitely be a learning experience, and should I still think it should boost her confidence, even though she lost, because she got in there with one of the best ever. So she can hang with Rose. Probably her other fights might be a little bit more straightforward. Now finally, for whatever reason, the internet seems to be loving the fact that one of Tracy's eyelashes got knocked off. In fact, it was the left eyelash that got knocked off from, I think, Rose's right hook. Well, my only thought on that is actually I was really surprised that the Denver Commission allowed Tracy to even wear those eyelashes, simply because they could potentially cause some type of damage to the eye. Now, how realistic or probable is that? It doesn't matter, but when you're a commission, you're open for liability, and I would think that an eyelash might be able to scratch the cornea, might create some problems for you if you're wearing them. So I'm curious to see if other commissions will allow the fake eyelashes or not. But either way, I don't think that's the most important takeaway from this fight. So if you watched Rose versus Tracy, let me know what you thought of the fight. Who would you like to see Rose fight next? Who would you like to see Tracy fight next? If you care to support our channel, feel free to head over to buymeacoffee.com/Hamaguchi-fight, or you can scroll over to the right and leave a super thanks. And if you'd like to get involved with our membership side and be part of the decision-making process for our channel, please click the join button and we'll meet you on the membership side. Thanks for listening.